Okay, so the first story I'm going to give you, I wrote it took me all of 8th grade year to write. It's a loose adaptation of my life in cross country that year. Uh, so at the very end of the year, we ran at a place called the transfer station here in Borger, it's where trains meet up, and it's basically just a bunch of canyons. And as we were running in there, we ended up finding this small little like hobo camp, but there are bullets everywhere, creepy religious totems, and a couple knives. And the knives were not clean, let me tell you. So we were very scared, and we booked it out of there. And so this is based off that. So it's called Transfer Station, Story of the Canyons, Chapter 1, The Mark. It was a gloomy afternoon at which the whole cross-country team went camping. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had buried ourselves deep into the canyon. The sun was setting, and the coaches left us at the camp to travel to the transfer station. When they had left, the high schoolers traveled into a cavern deep into the canyon. There was a long period of silence between us middle schoolers. An hour passed, and still no one came back. We soon grew restless and fell asleep. I was woken up much later, finding myself bleeding. Everyone was freaking out, and I didn't understand. But as I looked around, I found that Kimmy was nowhere to be seen. As I wrapped up my bleeding arm, I spoke to the group, soothing them. Some of the guys brought flashlights, so we each took one up and headed out. Chapter 1, getting pretty interesting, huh? Okay, Chapter 2, The Man. It was about midnight now. It was dark and foggy. We had walked around for an hour now. When we tried going back for the camp, but couldn't find the way. As we all tried to regroup, a fatal scream echoed. We all tried to stand still and not to make a sound. Soon we heard footsteps drawing near. In a rush, we trampled over each other in the attempt to get away. Then there it was. It was a tall, hooded man. One of his hands dripped with blood, while the other held a long silver knife. He stood there watching, as if studying us. It had a crimson smile, then let out a blood-curdling scream. We all ran. But it wasn't enough. He happened to catch one of the boys, Will. As I ran, I looked back and witnessed Will's decapitation. We were down to 10. So, I think that means 2 of us are dead. So there were 12 of us middle schoolers during this time. And now we're down to 10. Kimmy and Will have died. So, Chapter 3, No Hope. We walked in silence, hoping to find the transfer station. We came across something. As we got closer, we saw that it was actually a camp. There was trash all over the ground, and the tent was tattered. We figured that the hooded figure might live here. When we searched the camp, we found some weapons, a gun and a knife. As we were leaving, the hooded figure seemed to have caught up to us. And, as he did before, he caught one of us, Stephanie. He lifted up the knife, but before he could slit her throat, Ethan grabbed his arm. "Go, I'll distract him." "No, I can't leave you," Stephanie screamed as we pulled her away. Ethan smiled. "Don't worry." 5 minutes passed, and all we heard was silence. So I don't remember their last names, except Ethan Timmons. When him and Stephanie in middle school were dating each other, they're dating in here as well. Okay, Chapter 4, Landslide. We walked silently. The fog was getting thicker, and it started to rain. Just as we were walking, a landslide occurred. We all seemed to be okay, except Dawson Mitchell. His dad was principal of Crockett for a little bit. He had fallen into a trench. Guys, I think I broke my back. I can't move, he called out in panic. "Don't worry, buddy, I'm coming," Ryan said as he climbed down the trench. Ryan was a 6th grader or 7th grader, I believe. I don't remember. It was quiet until Ryan yelled, "Hey, there seems to be a tunnel. Maybe you guys can come through it." "We'll try. Stay quiet," I called. "Okay, But hurry, it's kind of spooky down here, Ryan said. We searched for a tunnel and finally found a small opening and entered into the abyss. Chapter 5. The Cave. It was dark and gloomy. The floor was covered in mud from the rain. Ew, why can't we just leave them? Brianna said. I mean, no one will miss. She stopped as I looked back and glared at her. We continued on until we heard footsteps in another tunnel. Shh, said Lucas Robertson. In another whisper, Steph, give me your knife. Cat's making noise. Steph, give me your knife. When they switched weapons, the footsteps had stopped. In the crack of the tunnel wall, we could see a red light. Boom! The tunnel blew. Lucas managed to push us out of the way, but him and Brianna were crushed by the debris. Brianna was a 7th grader, and she was blonde and bratty. I can't remember last names for the life of me. Okay, so Chapter 6, Lost. As we wandered around the cave in silence, we found an opening. Outside was Dawson and Ryan. Hey guys, are you alright? I called out. When we got closer, we could see their faces. I moved Ryan's head and saw that half of it was torn off, and his stomach was ripped to shreds. The same with Dawson. We wandered aimlessly around the canyon, searching for a way out. Reagan made us go in different directions, but I was sure if we kept going straight, we would find a way out. Reagan, Damaris called. Washington, but you know. I think we're lost. Reagan stopped. Don't you think I know that? She yelled. It's no use. We're all gonna die anyway. Don't say that, Aurora screamed. You know what? If I'm gonna die, you're coming with me, Reagan said, as she turned towards Aurora. Aurora cowered in fear behind Damaris, which I think we both know Aurora's personality. Not like that anymore. Aurora would beat her ass. Don't talk to my sister that way, Damaris said as she held Aurora. While Reagan yelled at us, Byron walked towards us. Byron walked towards her and slapped her. Why did you shut up? If you yell, he'll find us. Still shocked, Reagan just nodded. Chapter 7. Impaled. Exciting title. In finding our way out, we stumbled upon a little girl. Her clothes were tattered and looked like what an Indian would wear. She was holding a teddy bear, dripping with blood. I was unsteady about going near her, but Reagan walked right up to her. Hey, are you lost? You can... The little girl had then pushed Reagan into a steel pipe. It went through her back and then her heart and out the chest. Stephanie, who now had the gun, shot the little girl in the attempt to stop her. It didn't work. As the last of the boys tried pushing us away, Aurora had fallen behind. Aurora! Damaris yelled. I'm come... Aurora stopped as a tiny hand went through her stomach. The little girl pushed her hand back out and ran back giggling into the fog. Aurora fell to the ground, laying in a pool of her blood. Damaris ran toward her and held her in her arms. Aurora, she cried. Damaris, leave me. No, you can't die. Please, I want you to live. Live for me and Tasia. And I should, you know Aurora, of course, Damaris's, second... She's the third youngest in the Washington family. But Tasia, her older sister, was one of the high schoolers in the beginning that I said they all went into a little, part of the canyon. They're all dead. They're gone. Yeah, and now it's our turn. So I killed both of her sisters, and I want you to know when she read this part in middle school, she punched me so hard, Michael. We were in Coach Campbell's class for algebra, and she punched me so hard. Anyway, Chapter 8, A Long Walk. The ground was soft. The rain had washed up a lot of things. There were sharp rocks, planks, and pipes. We were silent for the most part. All we could hear were our footsteps and Damaris's sniffling. All of us were restless. For us, most of our group was gone. Damaris had lost both her sisters, and Stephanie lost her boyfriend. Ouch! I turned around. It was Shelby. Fine. She cut her leg on a rock. Crap, I said. We don't have anything to cover it up with. Then I remembered. We can use my bandage. I can't do that, said Shelby. Isn't your arm in, bad shape? I paused. It was pretty bad when I bandaged it. Yeah, but it should have stopped bleeding. After a few minutes of me telling her to accept it, she agreed, and I took off my bandage. Ooh, a cliffhanger to end chapter 8 on. Okay. Me and Shelby, still pretty good friends. Alright, chapter 9, Answers. When I took off my bandage, my arm glowed blue with a somewhat ancient design. We all stared at it. What is that? Jared said. 7th grader. I looked at it, but soon disregarded it, and continued to patch up Shelby. We began walking. It was still nighttime, so I figured it was around 2 in the morning. I saw a dark cave and thought it would be a good idea to rest there. When we all sat down, it was soon that we drifted to sleep. I woke up being dragged. The hooded figure had found us. I looked around for the others. I saw Byron and Jade. Ponto. Do you remember Jade Ponto? Hated her, dude. More on that if you want to ask a question. Hanging on the wall. Byron was unconscious, but Jade was being feasted on by the little girl. I covered my ears and looked away from her terrified screams. As I looked away, there were 2 Reagans. One was the girl Reagan, who was in our grade, and the other was a boy Reagan, who was a year behind us. The boy was hanging from a hook attached to the ceiling. I gasped, and the hooded figure heard me and stopped. When it stopped, I tried to get away, but failed. He grasped me by the neck. Why are you doing this? I said, grasping for air. Because it's fun, the girl said as she ate Jade's leg. Then what about this mark you gave me? He smiled and let me go. I fell to the ground, gasping for air as he went over to Jared and Shelby. He then proceeded to pick up a butcher knife and chopped off both of Shelby's arms and Jared's arms and legs. I couldn't move. I started to cry when I tried to scream. No words came out. I just sat and stared. The man placed his hands on Shelby and Jared's foreheads. A black light appeared around him, and blue letters made a circle overhead. When it went away, Shelby and Jared's bodies were gone. Ooh. Chapter 9. Pretty intense. Now I have it in 2 things, so I have to get the other one. Tattered, I tell you. Alright, what chapter? We are just finished chapter 9. Okay. Chapter 10. Escape. The figure smiled and grabbed me. He threw me on a table before he could chain me up. Byron, Stephanie, and Damaris hit him across the head. That was close, Byron said with a sigh. Yeah, if it wasn't for me, Emma would have been turned into lunch, Stephanie huffed. I smiled. Thanks. We all started leaving except Damaris. She needs to pay, said Damaris, looking down at the little girl. Fine, but hurry, Byron said, turning around. Damaris looked at me and gave out a sad smile. You're not the only one. She placed her hand on the girl's forehead. The same thing happened to her as it did the figure. I didn't question her. She had her reason. All we did was run. We didn't know where. All we could think about was protecting one another. We reached the outside of the cave. It looked familiar. Byron climbed up the canyon before us to see where we were. It was quiet. Guys, we're right outside the transfer station. Ooh, into chapter 10. So we escaped, and there's only 4 of us. It's me, Byron, Mitchell, I think his last name, Damaris, and Stephanie. And in cross country, those were my, 4 best friends, except for Shelby. So, playing favoritism in my riding will get you everywhere. Alright. Also, the whole thing, so I have a mark on my arm, but so does Damaris, except it's on just her hand. Or I think it's this hand, yeah. It's only on her hand. And what they're supposed to be is these magic symbols that are at normal. It's our normal skin, but with black tattoos on them. But then when we start to use the magic, this was my whole point. It was hard to explain it in middle school. So we had these magic runes tattooed all over our arms in circles, and then when we started to use our magic, they would lift off our skin and start spiraling around our arms, and our arms would like glow with magic, and then we go boosh. I think you get what I mean. Alright, chapter 11. The fence. We were so close. The only thing in our way was the fence. If it wasn't for this fence, then we could be in the bus, on our way to the police station. Don't worry, we can just go around, Stephanie said positively. We need to hurry. We don't know when that thing will wake up, Damaris said, trying to keep things calm. It was about 6 or so. The sky was getting lighter. We were running again. Then it happened. He showed up with his long silver knife. Crap, you guys need to go, Byron said, trying to be a hero. No, we all said we were getting out of this together. Yeah, we can just run past him, Damaris and Stephanie said, hoping not to lose another friend. I patted them on the back. Let's go. What? Emma, I thought you would agree with us, yelled Stephanie. Oh, I get it. Come on, Stephanie, let's go, Damaris said, catching up. Fine, but you better catch up, Stephanie yelled as we ran the other way. He was giving us time to find the keys. We ran around, but when we found the entrance, it was closed. There was no other way. We had to climb the fence. Woohoo. So, Byron sacrificing his life to help us 3 girls get enough time to find the keys that we would most likely find on our coach's corpses, which was Coach Young and some other guy. Honestly, I don't remember. Because you have to assume they're dead, they haven't come back, so we just assume. Alright, so chapter 12, the finale, the end. We were over the fence and searching for our coach's body. Ching! The sound of keys flinging around behind us. We turned around and saw the menacing face of the figure. It threw the keys up in the air as it smiled. Its nasty smile. It dropped the keys and stopped smiling as it sprinted towards me. Stephanie and Damaris screamed for me to get into the bus. I tried, but I failed. He grabbed my leg and I fell onto the ground. As it stood over me, I closed my eyes. This is it, I thought. I'm going to die. A few seconds went by, and I wondered why I hadn't been sent to my demise. I opened my eyes and saw Byron. He was covered in blood. By this time, Stephanie and Damaris had already helped me up, and were now holding up Byron. Don't do this to us. We thought you had died, Damaris yelled. Byron chuckled. Almost. When he stabbed me in the stomach, I fell to the ground and hit my head. I fell unconscious, so I guess it thought I died. Good thing you didn't, Stephanie said, picking up the keys. The others went back to the bus. I stayed and looked at the monster. It woke up quickly. I ran and pushed him down, sitting on its chest, and I pinned his arms down with my legs. You killed a lot of people, haven't you? For all those people, I'll take your life while you are alive. I put my hand to its forehead, and it let out a horrifying scream. The black letters... Sorry, this is middle school. I can't read my writing. The black letters that I saw before circled around my arm. I think I was telling you. When they disappeared, so did its body. All that was left was a rock with an ancient Greek writing on it. I picked it up and got onto the bus. We drove down the long dirt road in silence, and we watched the sun rise. All we could do was smile. I looked back upon the transfer station and thought to myself, you're welcome. Ooh. So, tell me what you think. I actually so when I went back in 10th grade, I was still running with some of the same people, and they had read most of them had read my book 1. And they were like, you should do a second one. So I actually did do a little bit. And I think... I actually finished... I finished 4 chapters of that one. And if you're interested, I would read you the other 4 chapters. And then I could probably... make up the rest of the book. You'll probably freeball it, to be honest, because I have how it is in my head. It's a lot like this one is based off like so the first book is kind of, the killers are kind of based off like Sally and Jack the Killer, which are two creepypastas kind of. A little mix of EJ, Eyeless Jack, who's also a creepypasta, and then book 2 was supposed to be a lot Wendigo's, like an Until Dawn. It just came out and I had just finished the game. So tell me what you think, and I hope you enjoyed this storytelling by me.